Ladies and gentlemen, you wake up tired, you hit snooze again, you promise yourself you'll start tomorrow, but that tomorrow keeps moving. The problem, you're not lazy, you're disconnected. From what? From your own discipline. And today, we're going to solve that. Before you open your phone, before the world's noise drowns out your own thoughts, there is a sacred window, a moment. In that moment, you decide who you are going to be. Not for the world, but for yourself. This moment this morning is where discipline begins. And discipline, my friend, is everything. There is something sacred about a quiet morning before the world begins asking things of you. That moment, often overlooked, is an invitation to return to yourself. And in that silence, something more powerful than motivation reveals itself: discipline. But this discipline isn't about forcing yourself through tasks or checking off to-do lists. It's something much deeper. It's a pathway to alignment. When your actions match your intentions, when your choices honor your deepest truths, that's discipline. And in that alignment, you'll find your true purpose awakening. So many of us drift through life waiting for clarity. We say we're searching for our why, waiting for a grand vision or purpose to show up and inspire us. But the truth is, purpose rarely shouts. It doesn't arrive like lightning. It arrives gently in the smallest choices, in how you greet your morning, in what you say yes to and what you say no to. Discipline is how you make room for purpose to speak. It's how you clear the mental clutter, the emotional noise, and the distractions that pull you away from your essence. When you act with discipline, you're not suppressing your desires, you're refining them. You're saying, I trust that what I want now is not as important as who I want to become. That's a sacred statement. That's what alignment feels like. When every step you take echoes your highest intention. And yet discipline is often misunderstood. Many people equate it with self-denial or rigidity. But real discipline is born from love, not control. It's rooted in self-respect. It's the decision to care enough about your future to honor it today. Think about it this way. Every time you choose discipline, you're having a quiet conversation with your future self. You're saying, I've got you. I'm building a life where you'll thrive. You're not waiting for external motivation. You're becoming the source of your own momentum. And that's what alignment does. It removes the dependence on outside validation and reconnects you with your inner compass. We live in a world that is constantly trying to distract us. Notifications, obligations, other people's expectations, they all fight for our attention. But your attention is sacred. And where you place it defines what kind of life you build. Discipline helps you protect your attention. It says, no, I won't give my energy to things that scatter me. It says, yes, I will invest in the practices that ground me, that elevate me. That's how purpose grows. Not from doing more, but from doing what matters with clarity and consistency. Alignment through discipline also requires stillness. You can't align yourself with something you're too busy to hear. And in today's pace, stillness is almost an act of rebellion. But it is in that stillness where truth rises. It's in the silence between the noise where you hear what your life is actually calling you toward. And once you hear that calling, discipline becomes your sacred yes. Not to society, not to your fears, but to yourself, to the person you are here to become. Every act of discipline is an act of devotion to your peace, your power, your purpose. It's not about perfection. It's about integrity. It's about saying, even when it's hard, even when I don't feel like it, I will act in alignment with what I value most. This is how you strengthen trust in yourself. This is how you turn goals into identity, and identity into a way of being that requires no performance, just presence. We often seek passion before we take action. We want to feel inspired before we begin. But purpose doesn't work like that. It's not a flame that finds you. It's a flame you feed through repetition, through showing up, through choosing your higher self when it would be easier to stay in bed or avoid discomfort. The reward for that choice is not just success. The reward is the peace that comes from knowing you are living honestly, that your external actions reflect your internal values. The beauty of discipline is that it is completely within your control. You don't need permission to start. You don't need applause to continue. All you need is the willingness to say yes to your growth again and again until it becomes your way of life. You'll find that when you act in alignment with who you're meant to be, the need for motivation fades. Because you no longer need to be pushed, you are pulled magnetically by the gravity of your purpose. The way you wake up is a message to the universe about how you value your life. Before the world gets loud, before others ask for your attention, before demands come rushing in, there is a sacred moment that belongs to you. And that moment, that first breath of the day, reveals more about your relationship with yourself than anything else you do. Your morning routine is not just a sequence of tasks, it's a mirror. It reflects how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, and how committed you are to becoming the person you were meant to be. Most people underestimate the power of the morning. They rush through it or hit snooze repeatedly, trying to delay the inevitable. But in doing so, they're also postponing their own growth. When you delay your morning, you delay your life. And when you wake up with intention, you set a tone, a vibration that ripples through every choice you make for the rest of the day. You don't have to perform 100 different habits. You don't need perfection. You just need to be present with your actions. The first 30 minutes of your day are a spiritual declaration. They say, I am here. I am ready. I respect my time. I am not reacting to the world. I am creating from within. It is in these early moments that your discipline meets your destiny. When you rise with presence, with gratitude, with clarity, your day follows your lead. But when you rise with distraction, with dread, with chaos, your day becomes a reflection of that energy. The outer world bends to the inner one, not the other way around. This is why a morning routine is not a trend, but a practice of self-honor. You are not just brushing your teeth, stretching your body, journaling your thoughts. You are aligning yourself with intention. You are telling yourself, you matter. Your time matters. Your life matters. You are giving yourself space to remember who you are before the noise of the world tries to make you forget. And it's important to understand, the morning is not a punishment. It's not meant to be a chore. It's a gift. If you can begin to see it that way, everything changes. The quiet before the world awakens is one of the most spiritually potent times of the day. The stillness carries wisdom, and when you move through it consciously, that wisdom becomes part of you. It enters your breath, your body, your decisions. Too often we wait for motivation to appear before we act, but the morning is where motivation is born. Not from outside, from within. You wake up and begin, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because you know that how you show up for the beginning of your day determines how you'll show up for your life. If you rise with intention, you create alignment. If you rise with purpose, you create peace. You may not always feel like waking early. You may not always feel like stretching or sitting in silence or journaling your thoughts. But the beauty of a morning routine is that it doesn't rely on how you feel. It relies on who you choose to be. You are building a foundation that does not crumble when mood shift or energy dips. This is the essence of discipline, choosing what serves your highest good, especially when it's inconvenient. When you take ownership of your mornings, you begin to feel a quiet confidence, not a loud performative one, but the kind of confidence that comes from within. A trust, a knowing that you are in harmony with your own life, that you are no longer chasing meaning, you are creating it. Moment by moment, action by action, breath by breath. Even the smallest rituals in the morning, sipping warm water with presence, stepping outside to feel the morning air, writing down a single intention. These are not trivial. These are powerful acts of self-respect. You are choosing to rise not in reaction, but in creation. You are telling yourself, this day will not define me. I will define this day. That shift from reactive to intentional is everything. And it starts the moment you wake up. We often think transformation is born in the big moments, the breakthroughs, the achievements, the milestones. But the truth is, Transformation begins in the quiet consistency of your mornings. The way you rise becomes the way you live. The discipline you bring to the start of your day weaves itself into your habits, your mindset, your energy, your presence. Your morning routine becomes your mirror. And over time, it shows you not just who you are, but who you are becoming. There is a quiet force moving beneath the surface of every great life. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't boast or scream for recognition. It works silently, patiently, day after day. That force is consistency, the steady practice of showing up regardless of circumstances, moods, or outcomes. While the world glorifies intensity and fast results, it is consistency that builds real, lasting transformation. And the irony is, most of the power it creates goes unseen until one day it becomes undeniable. We live in a culture that rewards the loudest achievements, the grand displays, the overnight success stories. But the truth is, behind every sudden success is a person who chose to be consistent when it wasn't easy, when no one was watching, when nothing seemed to be working. They kept showing up, not because it was glamorous, but because they had a quiet agreement with their future. They understood that progress is not always visible in the moment, but it is always accumulating. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, presence over avoidance, action over delay, you deposit energy into your future self. These deposits don't always come with immediate feedback. Sometimes they even feel pointless. But the reality is they are creating unseen momentum. Each act of consistency lays a brick, invisible to the world, but foundational to the life you are building. This is how invisible power is formed. In the moments you think don't matter, but do. There is magic in repetition, the repetition of daily rituals, mindful habits, intentional routines. These repetitions shape the architecture of who you are. When you commit to a consistent path, even if it's imperfect, you begin to shape your identity. You stop needing to push yourself because your actions become part of your nature. It becomes who you are, not just what you do. And when you live from that place, from identity, not effort, your power multiplies. It's important to remember that consistency is not about being flawless. It's not about never missing a step. It's about returning again and again to what matters most. It's about recommitting when life gets chaotic, when things fall apart, when motivation fades. True consistency is built in the moments you feel like giving up and choose not to. In those moments, you discover the strength that lives beyond temporary inspiration. You find the fuel that comes from your own alignment, not from external sources. We often overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. That's because we are conditioned to look for instant results, immediate change, dramatic shifts. But the soul doesn't work that way. Growth doesn't work that way. It unfolds slowly, like the rising sun, inch by inch, until one day it lights up everything. And by then you realize the journey wasn't about changing quickly, it was about changing deeply. And that depth was created through consistency. Even the smallest consistent actions carry immense weight. Waking up a little earlier, taking 5 conscious breaths, writing down your intentions, moving your body with care. These are not insignificant. These are signals to yourself that you are committed. These signals may not shake the world today, but over time, they will reshape your world entirely, because discipline is not a one-time decision. It is a conversation you have with your life every single day. The power of consistency also lies in its ability to create inner trust. When you consistently show up for yourself, you stop doubting your ability to follow through. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You begin to trust your own word. And that trust becomes confidence. Not the kind that needs approval, but the kind that comes from deep within, a knowing that you are walking a path you can rely on, that you are becoming someone dependable, not just to others, but to yourself. As you continue practicing consistency, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Your mind gets quieter, your heart gets stronger, your decisions become more aligned, and you no longer need to chase motivation because you've built momentum, you've built structure, you've built rhythm. And that rhythm becomes the music of your life, steady, grounded, alive. You may not see results today, you may not feel like you're moving fast enough, but don't confuse silence with stagnation. Beneath the surface, something is awakening, something is growing. The roots of your discipline are reaching deeper. The foundation of your future is being poured, and one day the world will see what you've been building all along, quietly, faithfully, consistently. Many people believe that freedom is the absence of discipline. They think that to be free is to have no schedule, no rules, no responsibilities, to move spontaneously, to follow only the impulse of the moment. But real freedom isn't found in doing whatever you feel like. Real freedom is the ability to choose what truly serves your highest self, again and again, without being enslaved by your fleeting emotions. And to do that, you need structure. You need a framework that supports your growth, protects your peace, and directs your energy toward what matters most. Structure is not a cage, it's a container. It holds your potential. It gives your energy a direction to flow in, instead of letting it scatter across distractions, worries, or mindless habits. Without structure, even the most talented person will feel lost. Without structure, your days blur together, your intentions fade, and your purpose is diluted. But with structure, you begin to feel anchored, not rigid, but steady, not boxed in, but focused. You give yourself the ability to rise because you have created something solid to stand on. There is something powerful that happens when you decide to build structure into your life with discipline. You no longer wait for the perfect moment to begin. You create moments through rhythm. You no longer need life to hand you motivation because you've built a system that carries you forward, even when your mind resists or your body feels tired. Structure removes the decision fatigue. It simplifies your path. It says, this is who I am. This is what I do. And that simplicity is a doorway to freedom. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to follow anyone else's routine. You need to create your own structure, one that is rooted in your values, in your rhythm, in your truth. The beauty of structure is that it adapts, it evolves, but it always provides a backbone for your life to rise from. It creates a space where your creativity can flourish, your focus can deepen, and your soul can breathe. The chaos of life will always be there. The world will always throw things at you that are unexpected. But when you have a structure, you don't collapse every time the wind blows. You bend, but you don't break. Freedom is often misunderstood as the ability to escape responsibility. But when you are free from all structure, you become a prisoner of the moment. You become reactive instead of intentional. You let circumstances shape you instead of shaping your response. Structure returns the power back to you. It says, you get to choose how this day unfolds. You get to decide how you show up. And that's where the deepest kind of freedom lives, in conscious choice, not impulse. Discipline gives life to this structure. It's the heartbeat of your routine, the soul of your daily rhythm. When you consistently show up for your structure, it becomes a sacred space, not a system of control. It becomes a place where you connect to your purpose without being pulled in 1,000 directions. You create time instead of losing it. You open space instead of feeling overwhelmed. And in that space, your mind calms, your anxiety softens, your vision clears. You begin to live from a place of centered power instead of scattered reaction. Every person who has created something meaningful, who has lived a life of impact, who has walked a path of peace, they've had structure. Not because they were trying to impress the world, but because they understood that energy without direction is wasted. Time without intention is lost. Discipline without structure becomes brittle. But when discipline and structure work together, they form a vessel that can carry your deepest dreams into reality. Think of structure as the spine of your life. It holds everything upright. Without it, you slouch mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You begin to drift. Days blend into each other. You live on autopilot, reacting instead of responding, surviving instead of thriving. But when you wake up each day and step into a structure you've created, you feel the difference. You are not just living by default, you are living by design. You are no longer at the mercy of time, you are in relationship with it. This is the paradox of discipline. The more you commit to structure, the more freedom you experience. Not because you're avoiding life's responsibilities, but because you are choosing how to meet them. You are no longer fighting against yourself. You are aligned. You know where your energy is going, and you trust the process. There is no chaos louder than your clarity, and that clarity becomes a compass that gently leads you forward, even when the world feels uncertain. Discipline is not about controlling life. It's about consciously shaping it. It is the quiet force behind purpose, the reflection of self-respect, the fuel of consistency, and the foundation of true freedom. Every morning you rise is an invitation, not just to wake up, but to come home to yourself. When you choose discipline, you're not choosing struggle, you're choosing clarity. You're aligning your actions with your highest values. You're showing up for your life before the world demands anything from you. Your routine becomes your ritual, your consistency becomes your confidence, and your structure becomes the space in which your true self breathes freely. This path is not loud, not always easy, and not instantly rewarding, but it is sacred because it's yours, built by your choices, protected by your discipline, and sustained by your willingness to grow, even when no one is watching. So as the sun rises tomorrow, ask yourself, who do I want to be when the world is still asleep? What quiet promise will I make to myself before the day begins? And am I willing to meet that version of me again and again until I no longer have to chase transformation because I have become it?